Morning, everybody. It's DJ NV, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. We got our co-host, our guest co-host, B. Scott here.
I know that's right.
And let's get in some front page news. Now let's start with NBA. The Bulls beat the Raptors last night, 109-105 play-in tournament, and the Thunder beat the Pelicans 123-118. Teslin, good morning.
Good morning, DJ NV, Charlamagne the God, and B. Scott. Big B. Scott energy.
Yes.
Let's get right into it. Justin J. Pearson, was he reinstated? What happened with him in Tennessee?
Yes, Justin J. Pearson was reinstated. Local officials unanimously voted on Wednesday to send Representative Justin J. Pearson, one of the two Black Democratic representatives who was ousted from Tennessee House of Representatives after gun control protests on the House floor, back to his seat in the state legislature. Now, the vote came less than a week after Mr. Pearson and Justin Jones of Nashville were abruptly expelled, and now they are back. Remember, earlier this week on Monday, they sent back Justin Jones, and so yesterday was the opportunity for Mr. Pearson to be voted back to be interim, basically replace himself. Now, I want people to remember that this is temporary, both him and Justin Jones. They will still have to go through a special election. We don't know when that date will be, and a general election. So like we mentioned the other day in the interview, if you do support these two gentlemen, make sure that you don't forget about this story after this week, because they're going to need your support.
That's right.
Now, take a listen to Representative Pearson's victory speech, and just a little bit of his victory speech, and we'll discuss on the other side.
It is this movement that's going to change this country. It's this movement in this moment in time that's going to change the country. And I'm so glad. Oh, I'm so glad. Yes, I'm glad. Oh, I'm glad.
So both Justins are back in the Tennessee House. That is amazing, but let's not forget why they got expelled in the first place, and that was because they were pushing the line for common sense gun reform. I know those drums sound good, and I know those speeches sound good, but let's not forget what they got expelled for in the first place. That is the issue.
I asked B. Scott, what did you think about it yesterday when they were I don't want to say performing, but in front of the state building, and they were playing the drums and they were talking about everything but what they got expelled for?
I felt like it was a circus. I felt like it was making a spectacle of something that we should be taking very seriously. And gun reform in this country is something that you know what I mean? Like, it's like every day we're waking up to these mass shootings. It's like, it's almost like Groundhog's Day. Like every day. And it's like, and it's easy to not relate to it when it's not you, but you have to think one day it's going to be you.
That's right. Now, was he not talking? I didn't see the whole speech, so I don't know if he was.
Felt like he was performing.
Was he talking about gun reform? I'm sure he was, because when he was on Breakfast Club, he never got off message of we need to get common sense gun reform.
Yeah, he did talk about it, but his style of delivery is he's the son of a pastor, and so that's his style of delivery, and I'm glad you said that, B. Scott, because we did an interview with Justin Pearson the other day, and a lot of folks may not like, those questions being asked, kind of sticking to the actual issues. And I think the ear, and I'd love to talk about the interview recap quickly. The ear is so accustomed to the performance of it all. And I'm not saying that to be disingenuous to him catching the Holy Ghost or, whatever emotion came with him. But we have trained our ears to prioritize politicians over people. People have no problem with someone coming to the Breakfast Club and pressuring a rapper to ask, who did you date last, and enforcing that, or asking, hey, a reality show person, tell us the tea. But when we have politicians, there has been a trained ear that is accustomed to listening to the filibuster. So when folks said, Tez, you kind of interrupted him, well, that's a part of strategy. I've actually been doing this 20 years, believe it or not.
Me too.
Let me just on the numbers. Yes, let's do the math. I am the host of Straight Shot No Chaser, and so a lot of times when you see politicians come, they're trained to filibuster. If I say, "What is your black policy?" they immediately go into, "Well, I black girls and black boys," and what is your black policy? So people have not been accustomed to that. And I just want to put it on the record for those that don't know me, because they see me in this form, B. Scott, where it's very, I'm a moderator when I'm doing the front page news. But just to be clear, in case you did not watch the 5 times that I came to Breakfast Club and were interviewed, I prioritize people over politicians. I've been doing it my entire career. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I don't fangirl over politicians.
That's right.
I believe that they can recover from the interview, but Black people cannot recover from 400 years of oppression. I do believe.
And now you preaching. You preaching now.
Girl, I got a little past in me too. Now don't make it.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, and so
let's go to the mountaintop.
Absolutely. And we have to be very clear about that. And for the folks that don't know, I give the same exact energy, if not worse, to white folks on Fox News. I duck no wrecks. I take all fades. I will line them up, Democrat, Republican, across the board. So let there be no confusion on my energy and asking that young man the tough questions. But we also were very clear in the interview with saying that nobody should be expelled for their voice.
Right.
Nobody. They should have never been expelled. I was basically saying, listen, we support you, but I cannot, and I'll say this and I'll wrap it up. When every last story has said, black elected official. So I must be responsible and say, what are you doing for the 60% of Black people in your district?
Right.
That's right.
That's a fair question. And I was hoping the brother would come back and say, hey, my district suffers X amount of, gun violence. And so me being out of that seat means that I can't help those Black folks in my district. And so rather than people getting upset at me for asking, where is white man Bob Freeman, who is not taking a stand, who actually represents the victims who were slaughtered, go ask where Bob is. Don't ask why I asked where Bob is, but ask Bob, where is Bob?
Ted,
So
what you're saying is we should be able to challenge and critique any elected official, especially if you voted for them, and if you're upset, about us challenging Democrats, y'all about to stay mad.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
And Tez, don't ever feel away, because that's why you're here. Like I was telling you earlier behind the scenes. For myself, I'm surface political. I just don't dive into it. Like, when we talk real estate, I dive into it. When we talk about other things, I dive into it.
Talk about butts.
You dive into it.
You dive into it literally.
But when it comes to that politics, this is what you do. You got the facts, and that's why we trust you. So we appreciate you. So never back down to them cowards.
She got me riled up.
That's
I'm like,
right.
yes, that's what we doing. Where we marching?
Hey,
All right.
it's the veteran in me, baby.
We'll see you in a little bit, Tess.
Peace.
All right, get it off your chest. 800-585-1051. If you need to vent, hit us up right now. Why are you with that fan? Are you going through menopause? What's going on,
It be
bro?
hot in this room, bro.
800-585-1051. Get it off your chest. Call us up right now. Phone lines are wide open. It's The Breakfast Club. Good morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ NV, Charlamagne the Guy. We are The Breakfast Club. We got our guest co-host B. Scott with us this morning.
I know that's right.
And let's get in some front page news. Teslin Figaro, good morning.
Good morning.
How you feeling?
I'm doing good. I'm distracted by Charlamagne's fan, though. Shout out to Flame Monroe.
You already know, Fliggy Flame.
Yes,
She said to make sure. She said you're using the one where she's naked on it. So she said you could have used.
I'm not
at
naked
least-
on this.
On that one, the one behind you, she
Now
Flame
say
is
what
naked.
now?
I'm using this fan because it's hot.
Okay. Whatever you tell
All
yourself.
right. That's why I'm using this fan.
Now,
to
with
be warm in here.
there's some front page news. The NBA got, of course, the play-in tournament. The Bulls beat the Raptors last night, 109-105. The Thunder beat the Pelicans, 123-118. Now, Tez, what is going on in Mexico? Is Mexico still? I just got back from Mexico. I was there 9 days, and I didn't have no problems.
You also,
Right,
you
we
also
urged-
had mad security.
I did have security.
Okay, you were staying in a gated place.
And where were you in Mexico?
We was like 20 minutes outside of Cancun.
Okay.
Yeah, at the Romali Beach House.
Is
So
that like
Exactly.
on the way to Tulum? Or no?
if I tell you, I'll be lying. I don't
Okay.
know. My wife just put me in the car and said, "Go." I really don't know.
Right. We urged you not to go.
Y'all did.
And we did. And the reason why is because it was actually when this story actually happened. So I want to give an update on that because many of you remember the story that we saw, all over social media where the 4 Black Americans were kidnapped in Mexico. So when that happened, we talked about it here on the Breakfast Club, of course. And so there's been an update on the 4 Black Americans that were kidnapped: Latavia Washington McGee, Eric Williams, Shadid Woodard, and Zendale Brown. They were attacked and kidnapped by the Mexican cartel on March 3rd while they were on their way to a medical appointment. One of the things I found really frustrating about this is online, people were kind of making up their own stories, saying, you know, they must have been up there selling drugs and dope. And they just kind of, you remember that? They just ran with it. So now they've come back to tell their story. And of course, you know, they confirmed that they were driving across the U.S. border, saw a gun in the car, a shootout began. 3 of them were shot. Then they were loaded into the truck at gunpoint. Now, McGee said that they kept promising to give medical attention to the victims that were shot, but unfortunately waited too late. 2 of them passed away, and Eric Williams did survive. They eventually gave him medical attention for his leg. Now, both McGee and Williams sat down with Anderson Cooper on CNN to give an exclusive interview about their horrific experience. Take a listen.
Were they threatening to you in violence, in sexual violence? I mean,
they tried to make us have sex with each other, but
we told them we was brothers and sisters.
brother and sister, and that she was pregnant.
what did they say to you?
They was like, what are y'all? We said brothers and sisters. And they was like, have sex with each other. I was like, no, these are my brothers. I'm pregnant. I don't know, they had me blindfold covered up. They took me a little piece. We switched vehicles. They put us in another vehicle, and then they covered me up, and we rode a little bit, and then I just know they backed in somewhere, took me out, and took me in a room, and I saw him and some more people.
There were other people?
Yeah.
Who were the other people?
Other people who was captive.
Kidnapped.
I'm not taking my black ass nowhere near Mexico.
Now wait just a damn minute.
Yeah.
Like I must have missed that part. They wanted them to have sex with
I ain't
each
hear that
other.
part.
I never heard that before.
What in the world?
Yeah, definitely go watch the full interview. I mean, it's really like just jaw-dropping. And one of the things they talked about at the end of the interview is that the cartel said that there was nothing they could do to bring the 2 brothers back. The guy that eventually released them, he told her, you know, hey, I know they're going to kill me for releasing you. He said, but he did apologize that the wrong call was made, that the person was high and drunk and basically made the wrong call. They eventually dropped the survivors off at a wooden shack where they were rescued on March 7. And again, what they've done, the Gulf Cartel has basically issued an apology for the incident and eventually handed over 5 other members that they kidnapped to local authorities.
So we have no idea why they're doing this?
They said somebody was high and drunk and made the wrong call.
Yeah, because at first they said that they thought they were Haitian smugglers,
Yeah.
and that was the wrong call. But, you know, I have a question because when I was in Mexico, people were telling me that it was certain areas of Mexico that they tell people don't go to. Like, you know, certain places of no matter where you go, they say don't go in that area. It's not a tourist town. It's not friendly to tourists. So if you're in those areas, be very careful. Even when I go to Jamaica sometimes, you know, my wife is from Kingston. Like, they even tell us, like, don't go to certain parts because, you know, it's not run by government. It's run by the local cartels, you know?
But recently it seemed like, I mean, it's like Acapulco and Tulum. Like, it's like all these shootings, people getting killed. I mean, like at the resort, near the resort. You couldn't pay me to go to Mexico.
Hell
right now.
no. I wonder if this is any backlash to how they think some Americans may feel about Mexicans because of the rhetoric that comes from, you know,
Trump.
Donald Trumps of the world. You think, Taz?
I mean, I don't want to guess or make an assumption, but I guess when we look at what's happening with Mexico in general, you know, and not pursuing justice or, you know, if there is some type of, you know, I don't want to make up a conspiracy, but I just think that Mexico is Mexico and they're going to handle their business as such. And I know, B. Scott, you wanted to talk about Mexico as well.
Absolutely. And, you know,
Ms.
while we're
Robinson.
on the topic of Mexico, there has been an update on the Ciofalo Robinson death. The U.S. federal prosecutors have decided not to pursue charges because they found insufficient evidence.
Really?
The whole video.
Yeah, we saw the
all
video.
seen it, yeah.
And that's what's so disturbing. We literally saw this woman get murdered by her friends. And the Mexican, you know, officials, when they performed the autopsy, they did see that she had a broken spine as well as other injuries. Mexico does want to extradite the person they feel is responsible for her death. There is no news as to how the U.S. will respond to the extradition. Mexico wants to pursue what they call femicide charges against a friend. Femicide is a crime defined as intentional murder of women because they are women.
Yeah, but right
So,
now they're not
damn.
doing anything. So to answer your question, Charlamagne, the U.S., I talked to Attorney Crump just about 5 minutes ago, and he said they are demanding, they're going to the White House, shout out to Until Freedom, my sister Tamika Mallory over there, and they're demanding that the U.S. does something. So to your point about is this backlash, well, again, Mexico wants to arrest the murders of Ms. Robinson. Why is the Biden administration, are they going to extradite these individuals to, so that they can receive justice? So I want to point that out, that on March 19th, it'll be 200 days since Ms. Robinson has been murdered. And again, they have said that if nothing is done, they'll be preparing to protest the White House.
And I also think that this ties into how I guess feel like Black lives are not valued as much as white lives. Because if there was a white woman that got murdered in Mexico, trust and believe there will be some type of justice for that.
And I was going to ask,
they totally dropped the ball.
Does the U.S. usually extradite to other countries like that? Because you never really hear the U.S. sending people out. You always hear people sending people back, but you never really hear U.S. sending people out. So is that normal practice?
Great point, DJ Envy, because that's what Attorney Crump literally said this morning. He said they typically, they don't. That's not something that they typically do. But again, when we see something, on tape, and we see that, the family is demanding justice, right. And again, and this goes into the culture of, like what B. Scott mentioned, Black lives and how do we prioritize things, and if there was a white woman, would they do something different? So it's a part of a larger conversation on still trying to get some level of police reform. I'm sorry, not police reform, some level of justice for Black folks. So it's not something that is typically done, but it doesn't mean that it can't be something that can't happen.
Got you.
Damn, man.
Well, thank you so much, Tez. We appreciate you.
Absolutely.
All right, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
And make sure that you subscribe to Tesla and Figaro's Straight Shot No Chaser podcast on the Black Effect iHeartRadio podcast network. And Tez will be at the first ever Black Effect Podcast Festival Saturday, April 22nd in Atlanta at Pullman Yards. Go get your tickets. We're almost sold out. So go get your tickets at Eventbrite. And for more information, go to blackeffect.com.
All right. Now, when we come back, I'm excited about this. Alan Hughes will be joining us.
Man,
Alan Hughes, director of...
he made 3 of my favorite movies
Society.
ever. Menace to Society, that's one. Book of Eli, starring Denzel Washington, and Dead Presidents.
And Dead Presidents, yes. And, of course, he has a new docuseries. It's called Dear Mama, based on Tupac and his mom. And we're going to talk to him next, all right? So don't move. It's The Breakfast Club, and our co-host, B. Scott's here.
Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.